for it, they grab Wagner. He plays Maximus, Erin MOTEN. She's Lucy McLean, Ella. Now, beating in for the set of White Lotus in Thailand, he plays Bagul, Primetime Emmy nominee. Hi, Walton Goggins. How are you?
Hi, Sawadee Kop, everyone. How are you?
So I want to begin with the actors because you represent a different perspective of what is going on in this show and the apocalypse. Ella, I'm going to start with you. You are kick-ass. You want a husband, you're living in a bunker, you're dressed to get married, but look out. Tell us about Lucy.
It was so much fun to play Lucy. What I like the most about her is her just relentless optimism, which could get annoying, but somehow, you know, because of these amazing writers, the way they fleshed out the character, it doesn't, I hope, yet.
Other way
watch
around.
a little more and let me know.
The script was annoying and Ella made it not annoying, just like to clarify.
No, you described Lucy in our first meeting as Ned Flanders in the Apocalypse. And I was like, I want to see that show. Yeah, I feel very lucky.
We used an alarming number of cartoon references. It was like, so, Roadrunner Coyote, and we were like, what are we making?
Thank God for a staple gun that gets you through the apocalypse. If you need anything, you need a staple gun.
Oh, staple gun.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Staple gun, don't light a fire after dark. I have, you know, a lot of tips about surviving the nuclear apocalypse after watching this show.
And then Erin, Maximus. He is a different kind of soldier from what we see with, for example, with Elle.
Yeah, but also I think a really different kind of soldier story that we are used to seeing. You know, I was happy to get the opportunity to play a person who's just as afraid as he is brave, just as truly a hero as he's pretending to be one. You know, it's really interesting guy, and of course, you know, of the three, you know, characters, the only one who was born and raised in the wasteland. So, you know, we did a good job, I think, of mapping out how that changes a person's mentality, you know, how they bend to distrust of people, and how, you know, how you experience a life of running. I don't know, you know, you imagine so many things of like what you could deal with, you know, having been up there your whole life.
Well, you're the
Yes.
bull. You're the bad guy. Or at least you look like you're the bad guy. But you've got such a tender backstory. I mean,
You know, that's my own life. Hey, can I say one thing really quickly? I'm on a
Yes.
5-second delay. So all my reactions to what's being said in real time actually time with what people are saying in my world, but it looks like I'm laughing at something that's very serious. It's very funny watching this whole thing go down.
Walton, that's my everyday life.
Please, go ahead.
but tell us about the bull. He's not all like, rawr. He's got a soft side. He was a father.
You know, when I read this script for the first time, I read 2 episodes and I really couldn't believe what I was reading. I knew it was going to be a very unique opportunity to play a person at 2 very unique, very different times in their life. A world that existed before these bombs fell, and a world that he had seen and experienced 200 years after the bombs had fell. He had seen the worst that humanity has to offer. It was a unique tone and a unique moment in our world history, if you will, to begin to talk about these things with the humor that is built into the DNA of the game itself. And it was, you know, one of the most extraordinary rides I've had so far in my career.
For the actors, how does Jonah prep you guys? Jonah Nolan. He directs 3 of the episodes here, including the pilot.
Well, I would say, you know, for me, it was really just an opportunity of understanding who these 2 people were. And we had to really figure out who Cooper Howard was. before we understood who the ghoul was. And what we mean by that is his occupation and who is this guy? Who are the people that he would, his contemporaries, if you will, in Hollywood, and to begin to kind of formulate like his tics and what his day-to-day life was like, and to flesh out his family, which Geneva and Graham did so eloquently on the page, to understand what it is that he lost, and to begin to ask the question, or answer the question for ourselves is, why is this guy still around? You know, it's 200 years of everything that he's been exposed to, and there must be something pulling him, whether it's revenge, whether it's looking to see if his family is still alive. All of these different things kind of came up, and it was just a fertile opportunity, a fertile kind of collaboration, if you will, to really understand the beginning, to understand the end.
And then for you and Aaron, working with Jonah.
I love working with Jonah. I think it's not that often that you get to work with a director who has the technical knowledge and skills, but also can give you really fantastic notes and pull out moments in the scene that you hadn't thought of. I think for me, Lucy is such a complex character. She's innocent and she's naive at the start, but she's also not to be underestimated. And for me, there was a crucial moment where Lucy becomes aware of her privilege, going up to the surface for the first time, realizing everything she's ever believed is wrong, right? Having that reality just ripped away from her. And Jonah gave me the most amazing note that I think about all the time. And it was so simple. He said, when you're saying that speech about how you're going to rebuild America to this woman on the surface, just look around you. And it like totally changed the entire trajectory of my character for the season. I still think about that however many, 2 years later, 3 years later. Yeah, big fan of Jonah.
Yeah, he's a wonderful artist. I always think that the best artists in the world are really the best question askers. It's not even about answering those questions. It's about asking them and putting them out into the room. I remember doing an interrogation scene for Maximus early in episode 1, and the questions about what do we imagine that sound is of this suit walking behind me, and we just went on this real rant of question asking together, and then we started rolling the film camera.
So tell us about the journey of Fallout and how both of you came to it.
Well, I mean, it started with Todd Howard talking to Jonah, and then Jonah talking to Geneva. And in the great human centipede of this show, I'm at the very end. Happily, you gotta understand, it's a great big sci-fi. Hiring the writer of Captain Marvel makes absolute sense. Geneva's idea to bring me aboard as the writer of the celery sketch from Portlandia is not the most logical thing. And I don't ever want to know how many fights Geneva had to get me, to bring me on to the show.
No thanks.
Well, that's very kind of you, I know. But hiring writers is like casting. You're sort of painting with people, and it was Geneva's idea to sort of bring me in, and yeah, owe this lady for the rest of my life, I think.
Well, I just thought Graham was the most necessary component of all this to me, because the games are obviously some of the greatest video games of all time. But I think what makes them unique within the pantheon of great video games is the tone. The Fallout games have this amazing mix of violence and weird humor, and I knew I wasn't going to bring the level of
The original game developers to create the productions.
What's interesting about that question is that I actually didn't. It was very generously allowed to approach the game with the way I was going to see it. And I learned, I'm not a gamer, and the way I learned was to go on YouTube, and I watched the fans with these incredible videos they put together, and histories and stuff. And the more I looked at it, the more I began to like the game. I just liked it. And so when I did my initial concepts, we were in a meeting with Todd Howard, and they were sitting there going, "Oh, you're doing the game." And I said, "Yes, because I really like this game." And I said, "The big challenge is there's so much detail, it's so big and so epic and so world building. Now we have to actually figure out how to do it. And so, but it was really, the learning the history behind all the stories and how everything's interconnected and the humor of it all, because I've worked with Jonah before, and I'm very much not comedy, very post-apocalyptic things that didn't have the kind of humor. And so it was like, I remember just trying to do wallpapers in the vault, and the first ones you'll see are kind of dark, and then later on they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's because we got more and more comfortable in figuring out the style of the show and watching the actors and sort of responding to all of that. The blessing was that no one ever told me what to do. They just wanted to know, what do you think it looks like? And I did, and everybody did it, which was exciting. So it was a great group and huge, it's like, hey, let's go to Africa to shoot the apocalyptic, Santa Monica. And, and it happened, which was exciting.
With a nose right now.
I spend about, and I'm not exaggerating here, I spend about 4 minutes in the chair on White Lotus, and it is the greatest experience ever. It's just good to kind of have this. It's easier to breathe and all the rest of it. But I do miss him. I miss walking the wasteland with Ella and Aaron, and it was every single day. And what Howard created and what Jonah did. I mean, he's the kind of the secret and all of this. And we all know his career and all the things that he's written. He's a pretty serious guy, a pretty earnest guy. But the way in which he kind of captured the hyper-stylized violence in this show and the tonality of jokes and everything that Geneva and Graham had written, it was just what an experience. I look at the people on the stage and I feel like I'm lording over you right here. On that stage with you guys, and I just miss you so much, and I can't wait to see you all very soon. Thank you for having us.
But seriously, you were in the makeup chair for what? Quite some hours for the Ghoul. How did that? Talk about just working with your makeup artist and how that informed your performance.
It was extremely anxiety provoking, from the very beginning. I knew that this was going to be an intense experience, being in that chair. I didn't understand, or I didn't take the time to really think about, because I don't know what I would have done, what my reaction would have been to how long it was going to take. We did 3 tests, and the first one was 5 hours. Every single one of those tests were 5 hours. And Jay Garber is the person that applied the pieces. It was designed by Vincent Van Dyke. We talked ad nauseum about how we wanted this to look and how I could communicate with the audience. And you could still see that it was me. And so Vincent, along with Jake, for the practical application of the piece, just talked about how thin we could make it, so you could still see my facial expressions underneath. At one point, we talked about putting in eye contacts, tried that, and immediately said, no, the eyes are the thing that your eyes make you human. And so we got off that. And it was, by the time we were ready to go, Geneva and Graham came over, we all looked at it one last time and said, okay, this is what we're gonna go with. A couple of things I didn't take into consideration when we did this for the first day in New York. What was the heat, to be quite honest with you? It was 106 index, and we took this little Ferrari for a test ride and walked outside, and I immediately sat down on a log and said, oh my God, I'm getting too old for this shit. The sweat started pouring out of my eyes. And the one thing that I didn't take into consideration with all of these things kind of separating my lips, and when I put in the retainers, the things that kind of cover these pearly white teeth, I couldn't speak. I couldn't get the words out. So, we got over all of that. And by the end of it, it took us about 1 hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours and 15 minutes in the chair every day, depending on how far we were into the movie that we were watching that morning. It was just a meditation, really. And, yeah.